Hello everyone, this is the latest update for the Delivery Kid game that I've been developing for the past few weeks. The first thing that you'll probably notice is now the yard and the sidewalk is elevated at a higher level than the road. So now it gives it a little bit of an additional challenge. So if you go off the side of the sidewalk, then you'll be in the road and you'll have to dodge the cars, and you'll have to wait till you get to the next intersection before you're able to ride up the ramp to get back onto the sidewalk. You'll also probably notice there's actually newspapers in the bin on the front of the bicycle now, and you can actually see as you throw the newspapers, the papers that are shown in your bin actually decrease until you pick up a paper refill. Then you'll get all the papers back in your bin. So it's a little nice way of visually showing your supply of newspapers. Another new change that I made is you'll see in front of each of the houses there's a sign that looks like it's swaying in the wind with the house number for each of the houses. So just a nice added effect for the game. You can also see here on the paper refill, I actually added a texture map now. So I actually took the title screen that looks like a newspaper and I put that on top of the paper stack. Also made it look like there's two bands holding the newspaper stack together. Another change, you'll see this animal here that's chasing after you. It's actually animated now, so whenever it's idle, it's in this idle pose, and then when it starts chasing you, you can actually see it running after you now. And I changed it so it only runs after you for about 5 seconds, then it just gives up, so it doesn't continually try to chase you throughout the level. Another new model that I added to the game is this breakdancer guy. So he just dances around, and I actually created him in MakeHuman and animated him in Blender. You'll also see with the sidewalk, you can actually see the bicycle go up the ramp. So I'm actually using 2 colliders, one for each wheel. So it gives that nice appearance of the bicycle smoothly going up that ramp onto the sidewalk. Also updated the car, so now you can actually see the wheels turning on the car as it's driving down the road. Before it wasn't doing that, so it makes it look a little bit more realistic. Also modified the traffic cone, so now they tip over a little bit more realistically. You can also see here at the end of the level, I added a checkerboard effect showing the end of the level. I have a few more ideas for this game. I want to have it where it has actually grass particles whenever you go into the yard, so it looks like you're really riding through the yard and kicking up grass all over the place with your bicycle wheels. I still want to add the pedal animation where it actually goes faster and slower depending on how fast you're going in the level. Also want to have it where you actually throw the newspaper, have a model of you or an animation of you throwing, but that's going to be a little bit tricky because I still want him pedaling as he's throwing, so I don't know if there's a way to actually merge 2 animations together. So I keep the pedaling animation but then add the throwing effect whenever you throw a newspaper. And also it's going to be a little bit tricky because whenever you press the throw button, it instantaneously starts shooting the paper over. So if he's winding up to throw, that's going to look awkward if the paper's already flying off. So I might have to do like a backhand or something, like he's going this way. So it releases here, then you can see the rest of the hand animation. So that's something else I need to work on. Also, I still need to add new house models. I haven't gotten around to it yet. There's a few more rigid bodies I need to add to the game, such as for some of the objects like the skateboarder guy, and I need to add a few more texture maps for some of the characters like the breakdancing guy and the skateboarder guy, so they have different shirts and different textures and things like that. I also want to add a hat for the delivery kid. So I actually watched a tutorial that explains pretty well how to add new clothing to MakeHuman models in Blender. So I'm going to give that a try. That will be a new learning experience for me. And also I still need to add GUI icons for the number of papers and the number of lives instead of the numerical values. use. So I just wanted to show off the breakdancer guide that I created. So this is him in MakeHuman. He's kind of a taller guy, and you can see the different effects that I added for him. So you can see over here are the different settings. His age, he's about middle age, kind of skinny, tall. I left a lot of the face settings as the default, but there's actually a lot of different settings you can use for the face. One interesting feature I found with the clothing, you can select your clothing over here, your pants and shirt and shoes. And at first I thought those were the only options. Those are the only model options, but you can actually click on materials up here, and this will give you more textures for those clothing options. So you can change the color of his shirt to blue or red or pink or stripe it. And again, I used the export option over here, and I exported with the Blender Exchange format. So to import this guy into Blender, you got to make sure you go into user preferences, and then you can search for MakeHuman. Yeah, there it is. Import, export, MakeHuman MHX. So you just click on that and make sure that the little checkbox right there for this importer is set. You also need to go to the File tab and make sure that Auto Run Python Scripts is checked. Otherwise, it won't import your model correctly. And then you just click on Save User Settings. One neat trick that I found in Blender is that there's actually an animation layout. So you just go up here and you click Animation, and that will give you this layout that's really helpful in creating animations. And you can see here's where I added all the keyframes for all of the different positions of all the different bones in the model. You can press play, then you can see him starting to do the breakdance animation. You can see down here is the timeline. And so I basically just went onto YouTube and found a video for the World Breakdancing Champions, and I basically went into this model in pose mode. Once your armature is selected, you can click down here and there'll be the pose mode option. So you just go there, and then you can start moving around all the different parts of his body. So I use the inverse kinematics, and I found this tip on YouTube, but you just go over here to this MHX IK switch, and you make sure that both the left and right leg are set to IK right there. So once you do that, you'll be able to use these different controls on the leg. You can move that around, then the rest of his leg will move around appropriately. If you don't have the IK selected over here, then you won't have those controls, and moving the leg won't work appropriately. It will only move that one joint. It won't move the entire leg based on the foot. I also wanted to show off how I made the yard sign for the game. So basically what we have here, here's one object, which is the post for the sign. I don't have anything connecting the post to the actual sign. That's something that I could add, maybe like a little chain over here. But the sign is basically just a cube that I texture mapped. And then I added 3 small planes on top of this. So this is how I set the yard number. So these are 3 separate textures. So I have a method in Unity that goes and puts the appropriate texture based on the house number on top of the yard sign. So you can see here in Blender you can move it around, but it really doesn't swing like it's swaying with the wind. But you can see here in Unity, I just pulled my yard sign model, I made it a prefab and pulled it into just a blank scene. So you can see it right here. Then when we go over here and we press play, then you can see it swinging back and forth. That effect is actually created with this hinge joint. This is under physics, it's a physics component. So to get this connected effect like a swinging, you have to define where it actually pivots and swings upon, and that's controlled by this axis value the anchor and axis values. So the anchor is actually where it's going to swing, the position where it's going to swing, and the axis is which axis it's going to swing on. So we want it to swing on the x-axis, the red one, so it's going to go back and forth, and the position is going to be on top of the sign. So you can see that little anchor right there. You can actually change that by changing the value of the anchor point, but we want it just like right on top of that sign. And there's a lot of other values that you can change, how fast it's going to swing and if it can become disconnected and things like that. I also wanted to show off the car model really quickly and how Playmaker can make some things really easy for you. So there's my car. I actually have both car models for the sports car and the cop car on top of each other, so I just enable which car type I want. But for each car you have the 4 wheels. It's really nice in this model that I got off of the asset store. It already has the 4 wheels separated into separate objects, and then it has the body as its own object right there. But so basically I just created a template for the wheel, and all it does is rotate. So you can see for every second it's going to rotate 360 degrees. So if I want the wheels rotating faster, then I just increase that value. If I want the wheels rotating slower, I just decrease that value. And I want it in self coordinates, so it's actually rotating on the X of the wheel. So you can actually click one of the wheels and you can see that red X axis is sticking out, so that's the one that I wanted to rotate on right there. So this was my first time using a template, but a template makes things really easy, so I just created that one rotating FSM for a wheel. Then I was able to use the paste template right there. Then I got the wheel rotate template, so that way I don't have to recreate that one action in FSM for every wheel. I just create it in one place and I paste it for all 4 wheels. So that's this week's update for Delivery Kid. I think it's still coming along pretty well. Still a lot of changes that need to be added, but I'll keep on working on it. Thanks everyone for watching.